All right, so welcome to Sports Extra, another episode from the Real Sports platform where we have got factual opinion and analysis locally, regionally, and internationally. My name is Rurimbo Chakoreka, coming straight out of Zimbabwe as well. And of course, I've got Aramis, one of the wonderful analysts that we have as a panel for Sports Extra. Aramis, it has been a very long while, but nonetheless, you made it.
It's really been a long time, yeah. Lots of commitments and lots of things that have been going in the background as well. But I'm glad to be here and I'm glad to be catching up with you once again.
Oh yeah, but anyway, we've got some really big stuff that we're going to be talking about today, and I think more importantly, we've got the soccer star of the year, Walter Msona, winning that one. We're going to discuss a little bit around that. Then, of course, our junior football development. Is it going somewhere? Is it not? And obviously, looking at the COSAFA tournaments that are happening down in South Africa for both boys and girls. History was made by the netball team yesterday. Zimbabwe Cricket have announced their side for the Afghanistan series, and of course, I think we're also going to be talking about what's happening in the Premier League. And for once, as Man United fans, we're not going to be talking about Man United for now. I know that has been the topical stuff, but hey, Ruben Amorim is now 5 games in. I think he's now settled. We want to talk about the development happening at Chelsea. I think Maresca is onto something and he's playing some brilliant football. His team is doing really well, and we're going to be talking about all that and so much more. Don't forget to like, to share, to subscribe, to comment as well on all of our social media platforms. We are on many of them, believe me, on Facebook, on Instagram at Sports Extra Zim, on YouTube as well as on TikTok. It's at Sports Extra ZW. We're also on X and we're also on a WhatsApp channel, so you can be able to get all of those links once you go on our social media platforms. So make sure you tune in and we'll see you on the other side. Okay, soccer star of the year, Walter Msona. Okay, look, I think Walter Msona had a very decent season with Simba Bora, got into the double digits. I believe he should be around about 13 or 12 goals to have scored for the club, led them to a premiership title for the very first time. Justified? Unjustified?
For me, I would personally say I think it's justified. It was a close tie between Walter Msona and Kamabiliat, of course. The reason why I would go with Walter is that he is captained the side to the maiden title. They brought him from FC Platinum solely for that purpose. I believe he's a quality striker, and in also the other roles that he has played as well for Simba Bora. But I think the deciding factor is the fact that they went on to win the title, and that alone was the standout a point in terms of determining where does the player of the season go to. Not taking away anything from Kamabiliat. He had a stellar season, also coming back from SA, reviving his career as well. But I think the accolades that they also got, him becoming the fans player of the season as well, it's good enough consolation.
All right, but others will argue, and I know those particularly in black and whites, from Emma Gumeni, Boso, Linus Chikwa, top goal scorer, 17 goals. Surely he should have been the guy. I mean, generally when we do see it internationally, the top goal scorer is the guy.
Yeah, top-notch performances from Lionel Chukwu. I believe a guy that we didn't know maybe a season or 2 seasons ago, save for the die-hard fans, of course, but for the majority of the soccer followers, the soccer lovers, they really didn't know much about him in the prior to the season. But he really had a stellar, amazing season. The quality of the goals that he scored at one point, propelling Highlanders to actually seem to be challenging for the title, but unfortunately along the way their wheels fell off. But I think he would have been also in contention to be the soccer star of the year. But obviously it's one accolade. There has to be one winner and the deciding factors over others. And like I've always been saying, the issue of the trophy going to Simba Bora being the key determinant and autumn Sona getting the accolade.
Yeah, 100%. Now, obviously, for now, Kamabiligas is saying that my contract is over with the other. And fair enough, it is. They had signed him for 1 year. He might be moving on. So that's something as well that I believe is going to stir a whole lot of debate as we get into the following season, how that's going to pan out, where he is currently going. Does he have suitors as well that may actually want to take him on? He is not on the right side of 30, by the way. He's on the other side of 30 and around about 34 at the present moment. So I think it doesn't make it that easy for him to move on. But in any case, Walter Msona won it. So I think, look, he deserved it. I know, of course, Highlanders fans would have wanted Linus Chikwa to win it. But I think also as well, some of the determining factors was to see Linus Chikwa, unfortunately, for whatever reason, not get called up to the national team. I think only up until like the last game, you know. And for me, again, that might be a little bit of the issue in terms of team selection. William Manondo was right in there as well in terms of the scoring of goals. Why he was never called to the national team also begs the question. But anyway, Michael Nice or Mikael Nish. We'll leave that to you. So let's move on with our football, but let's talk a little bit about our junior football development. Right now, our under 17 teams, both for the boys as well as for the girls, they are in South Africa playing at the University of Johannesburg and in a COSAFA tournament. And for the ladies, it hasn't been too good. Only one victory and two quite heavy defeats, losing 7-2 to Zambia, losing 3-1 to Botswana. And when you look at them,
it's a little bit challenging, but I feel happy that we have those platforms and we are big again. I remember we used to have that FIFA ban where all our age groups were affected and we couldn't do anything. But lately we've come back to the foray and we are contesting. But the quality of our contestation leaves a lot to be desired, and it comes back to the systems that we have put in place. What ZIFA has been doing, because it is my understanding that they've been selected through trials, which are just being held maybe 2 weeks prior or 1 week prior, without any sufficient scouting that is put into the exercise. Because I believe there are no shortcuts to success, Rainbow, and I always hammer on that point that we need a long-term vision. We need to be strategic in terms of how we set up, especially junior development. My friends and I were hosting the girls tournament just this last Saturday at the celebration, and we managed to invite a couple of schools. You can see that they use a lot of talent, from these schools and these clubs. But what's lacking is that the refining, touch, for us to have a group that comes through together. They know each other regardless that this one is coming from Bindura, this one is coming from Chitungiza, this one is from Mueza. We need to build systems, where they have these camps. If it's the under 15, that they are going to progress in the next 5 years playing together. So they need to be held together with, regular camps, regular training sessions. We need to invest. We need to put something. We need to put money. We need to provide for these kids, because some could not turn up because they didn't have money for transport.
Wow, I mean, that's definitely a lot to actually chew on and take in. And just to actually tap into that, I was looking at the South African under-17 ladies team. And what I did get to see was I was privileged enough to have commentated in the CAF Schools under-15 tournament held at Gateway. The same team that was here in Zimbabwe at Gateway is the same team which is playing right now at the CAF under 17, which means they've kept them together. They know each other like the palm of their hand, and they are playing phenomenal football, fantastic football. But when it comes to them, and it comes back to that what is ZIFA putting in place? We've now got this academy, that academy, this academy, that academy, this academy, that academy, but none of them actually ever brought together in order to be in alignment camps. So ever since we got Mikhail Nish to be our coach, what kind of football does he want to play? And have we aligned everybody else to what he wants to play, to his expectations of a defender or a centre back or a central midfielder or a defensive linkman or a winger or a frontman? Have we aligned ourselves to that? And these things need to be done regularly. Coaches as well need to be also fed the tactics, but already clearly there's an issue around that, because if we have Lord Chitembo throwing all of his toys out the court, this guy, he called my best man whilst I was trying to play my an all-important key game. Already that means that he will not be willing to come to the table to say, look, you know what, I know Caps United generally have been playing this type of football, but I am now saying, if your players are to make it into my national team, the expectation of what they need to deliver is this, that, and that.
Yeah, because basically what we need to do as a country, we need to be at some sort of understanding. We need to be in tandem in terms of what we are doing. We need to have a strategic vision. We need to have long-term goals in terms of our football. So it all comes together with the technical sides, the coordination between the clubs and the national team. What style of play, what identity of football do we want to have as Zimbabweans? From the national team perspective, from the age group perspective, as well as from the club perspective, and also at times the academies, and in as much as everyone wants, to play with their own tactics, their own kind of way, but we need, some kind of identity, like what they do in Spain. It's basically tiki-taka. That's the kind of football that they play right across in Spain. If you go to Germany, there's a different kind of also play in Germany as well. And when you go to England, same thing. So this is what we need to do, and we need to implement quicker. We need to be in unison right across all the football ecosystem.
100%, I believe in that, and hopefully that is something that can be achieved here for Zimbabwean football if we intend to actually go anyway. Now, of course, we're going to be taking a very quick short break, and when we do come back in the next segment, we talk netball, and of course, we're going to be talking about cricket. All right, so welcome back, and don't forget to like, to share, to comment, to subscribe. We love some of the comments that are coming in, especially on all of the content that we've been bringing to you. So please send through your comments, what you would like to see, who you would like us to bring, and maybe put in a bit of a hot seat. That is something that is going to be happening when we get into next year's programming. Is going to be very interesting. Guests week in, week out, and we're going to be having an interview with them, going deeper and deeper into sporting stories. But yesterday, the netball gems made history. They beat Uganda for the very first time ever in any netball match that we've ever done. We beat them, and we did it in actually dramatic fashion. In the last 5 minutes, we were trailing by 7 points, and we managed to get those with the final play. We scored the winning shot, and we beat them. And there was a bit of jealousy from the officials. I mean, honestly, what did they expect when the final whistle went, or the final buzzer went, and then everybody ran? The men's netball team, which had played earlier, came and ran on the court, and they were hugging each other. Then the officials were like, no, it's a dangerous celebration. What do you mean dangerous celebration? When Manchester United scores, have you ever seen us celebrating? That's dangerous. But nonetheless, so for our netball team, in your own view, how important do you think the Celtic Cup was in order to bring us to this point?
Yeah, I think looking at our netball team, they've really, been doing well and making us proud. That is, with consistent performances. And sometimes we're always crying that they are under-resourced, they are under-sponsored, and all the sorts of thing. Not taking away anything from the current sponsors that they do have, because they've managed to step in when nobody else couldn't step in, and much focus when it comes to sport in Zimbabwe Zimbabwe, I think it's football and cricket, and we forget about the girl child. We forget, the wins by the Zim netball team going away to play the World Cup, or those tournaments that they have played in with the relative success. So I believe like this first win against Uganda, gives them some kind of psychological edge going forward. They'll need to, at least to do a little better next time and finish the games earlier on and stuff like that. But credit to the James, they've been representing us well, especially in Africa.
Oh yes, 100%. And obviously they're playing in a tournament that is the Africa Netball Cup, and it's being played in Namibia and Swakopmund. I hope I got that right.
Swakopmund.
Yes, there you go. So you see, he's been there. So that's why he says that. But nonetheless, and obviously South Africa is there. South Africa is also on a rebuilding phase in this 4-year cycle to the next Netball World Cup, which will be in Australia. Zimbabwe doing the same as well.
Yes.
We've got a lot of under 21 players that were there. In actual fact, the point scorer for us, the goal shooter, Tandazile Ndlovu, is just only around about 19 or 20 years of age. She was leading the under 21 side when they were trying to qualify for the Netball Youth World Cup, unfortunately missing out in that semi-final to qualify to the final where we could have gone. But anyway, it happened. But she was the top point scorer. She scored 6 of the last 7 points that were required for us to win. So she did very well to actually step up on a big stage like that and be able to do it. So South Africa in a rebuilding phase. Uganda themselves also building up. Malawi are doing the same. So it's like a new batch of players now, and it now means that there's nobody who's afraid. Kuna sister who was always the stalwart. Now it's like, you know what, you're new, I'm new, this is national team level, let's do this thing.
Level field, so let's play, because that's the challenge, is that over the last few years the average age had gone beyond the acceptable global standards, especially in terms of body competitiveness and fitness. So it was a little bit of a point of concern, and I'm glad that the coaches finally seeing the light, and they're starting to infuse the young ones. I know initially they always want to go with the bulk of the players that they've always had over time, but unfortunately age catches up with everyone, and we need to infuse a new talent. We need to identify and promote new talent.
Most definitely, and we hope that they will continue to do so. I do know that there are a number of matches that they will continuously play up until they start getting into the business end of the competition, which will be quarterfinals, semi-finals, and so on. And so we wish the Gems the best of luck. Unfortunately, for the Golden Gems, that is the men's netball team, they lost their first match against Eswatini, but just only by 4 points or so. It does show that they are still kind of learning the ropes of how to control matches and work through them, because as well, netball, you can also slow down the play, you can increase the tempo and things like that. And I think maybe our men at the present moment are struggling because they play with a high tempo and then they begin to taper off, particularly in the third and fourth quarter going forward. So we wish the boys the best of luck, and of course the ladies to deliver the very most. Now let's talk about cricket. And I know Aramis, you love cricket. You love cricket just like I love cricket. There's always a big question asked. I remember, what would you do if there was a one-day or a T20 international between Australia and India, and there was a football match for you to watch? Where would you go? I was like, immediately, with no question, to the T20 match.
It's cricket. Yeah,
it's cricket. And so, of course, Zimbabwe unfortunately losing out to Pakistan in a very interesting manner and way. And we're actually going to play a bit of an audio clip that we got from one of the developmental coaches. He was around for a while. You may remember Reginald Mutare.
Yes.
He coached at St. George's, coached at St. John's. He was also part of the Zimbabwe cricket development coaching system and things like that. And he mentioned something which was quite important for us to understand. So let's take a listen to this.
zvinhu izvi ndakambozvitaura kudhara. Vamwe vanhu vazhinji vakati vakafunga kuti chichi whatever. Takaregedza zvinhu zvaita kuti cricket idu function, and we stopped doing that. And then ndobva tafunga kuti mashortcuts anotifambira. Mashortcuts anoita kunge zvinhu zviri kufamba, but zvinhu zvisingaite se zvinhu zvisingatofambi. Pane ma-structures aivako kudhara ataishandisa. Nanhasi ma-structures iwayo akaita seiwayo anoshandiswa nedzimwe nyika hombe dziri kuwina. Ma-structures ataiva nawo ndo aiuya achitorwana naBangladesh, ndo aiuya achitorwana naIreland, ndo aiuya achitorwana naAfghanistan vachinomaseta kunyika dzavo. Mukatarisa Bangladesh right now kuna about 50 or to 56 ma-academy munyika yavo yese. Asi mukatarisa ma-setup ezvinhu zvavo kunyika kwavo, zvinhu zvavakatora munyika medu ndobva vazvidevelopa. Isusu munyika medu hatina kana academy yecricket, hatina grassroots yecricket. KuAustralia kune tournament ye-under 5 years. Mufana anotoscoutwa ipapo, anotoonekwa kuti uyu achatambira nyika in the future, akutanga kutomonitwa. Maona? Saka isusu hatina that. Asi ma-structures aya aivako, but ma-structures aya haasisiko. Ma-structures aya kwaiva ne-scholarship program yoku-identifya the talented boys but vafana vaiva vasingakwanise kuzobhadhara mafees, ndo vaitorwa vafana vachienda kunana Chechu, vachienda kunana Prince Edward. That's why those days vana Chechu nana Prince Edward nemamwe ma-government school nemamwe ma-schools akadaro aiva akasimba. It's because of that program. Vafana ma-underprivileged vaitorwa vachiswa kuzvikoro izvozvo. Ndokwakabva vana Hamilton, ndokwakabva vana Stuart Matsikinyere, ndokwakabva vana Elton Chigumbura, ndokwakabva vana Utseya, ndokwakabva vana Chamo Chibaba, ndokwakabva a lot of boys. Even kunana Milton hai ndokwakabva vana, if I'm not mistaken, ndokwakabva vana John Nyumbu, vana Chris Mpofu, all those guys vakazoya muma-systems vachitamba cricket. Saka ma-structures aya hakusisina. Kudhara kwaiva nema-age groups, ma-national age groups nema-province age groups aitangira ku-under 11 kusvika ku-under 19, and they were so competitive and they were strong. Ndoko zvaibvira ikoko. Mufana ndokwaidzidzira kurova 100, mufana ndokwaidzidzira kutora ma-wickets, mufana ndokwaidzidzira kubata catch. But ma-structures ese haasisipo. Pakati pese paita gap up. Hatina kana cricket academy munyika wani zvayo, hatina. At least taifanira kunge tine ma-academy in all provinces anotambwa cricket. Taifanira kunge tine ma-stadium ecricket kuma-province ese. Maona? Saka takasara. Nyika zhinji dzanga dziri kumashure kwedu dzakauya dzikapfuura dzikaenda, dzikauya dzikapfuura dzikaenda, dzikauya dzikapfuura dzikaenda, dzimwe dziri kutopfuura dzichienda. Tatova shiri even kana Namibia yakutongotidya inopfuura ichienda. Saka by that nanyo hatina kuchabva vamwe vafana, hatina kumwe vafana kwavachaprepare vachibva nako. Vafana they can only prepare from grassroots, vachipinda ma-development sides, vachipinda kuma-age group iwayo, vachikwira kumusoro. That's the only way we can develop. Maona? Wakati Team South, wana Team South akatanga kutamba national team yavo ane 19. And Team South akaenda semo kapo nana Mtombodzi, nana Chimbambo, nana check that age group vari kupi. Hakuna munhu achitamba cricket. Unaona? Saka zvinhu zvakafafa uko. Titanic ndoko yakatanga kunyura. Unaona? And then tozosvikawo pakuzoisawo jira reretso musport ariko rinosimudza mhepo, harisiri mumasports jira iroro. Jira iroro ariko. Harisire kuma-sports, ngariende kwarinowanikwa, ndere kun'anga uko, ndere kumashavi, ndo kwarinowanikwa jira iroro, rinosumudza mhepo. Maona? And then you don't mix politics nesport. It's like you're mixing oil nemvura. Azvimixe, achizanganiswa ma-sports. You need the right people running the game. You need the right selectors selecting chigame ichi. You need the right structures. Hapana kwatiri kuenda, hapana. Vapana vanopinda ma-national team haisi mhosva yavafana. It's lack of development. Havana development, they are not developing. akapinda vafana vedu vanenge moto wemumashanga anopinda and it's so exciting and ari on fire anongoti vuvuvuu obva tirizivi izvo zvatopera obva buda munational team atoparara achatotambe cricket atoregedza with the likes vana kasuza and all those guys vamwe vakatoenda kudzimwe nyika vakutoshanda mamwe mabasa hazvisiri cricket maona under 19 ed haikombite maona under 19 ed haikombite vanongoenda kuworld cup otonodya otoita number 14 15 anditi vanhu vavadya ivavo vafana ina vazhinji ukanasakana vanafana Bethel anga under 19 world cup iyi ndofunga the recent one akutotamba test yeengland atokumusoro akutohwina magame eengland safane atokumberi kudhara tatosara vana muzarabani havanodeveloping muzarabani akadevelopa pakauya kuengland akatamba cricket kuengland thats way akatanga kudevelopa but paakangodzoka kuzimbabwe haana zombodevelop people are not developing vamwe havana mastates ekunge vanofanira kunge vari munational team but they are playing there anoziva kuti I will be picked saka icareer imo nerudestroyer at the end of the day saka apana tatosara muchigame ichi tasateam yepakistan vanhu vatotraiwa people are being tried kuti vaoneke kuti vakamira sei that's how they're building their future vachidaro vachienda.
Key points for us to note, as we said, the structure that was there which ensured that kids went to particular centers of excellence, which Zimbabwe Cricket supported, are no longer there. And so what we now do have is that we are fast tracking youngsters into setups. We can look at our entire top order is below the age of 22. Our entire top order. We're looking at Brian Bennett. We're looking at Tadiwana Shemarmani. We're looking at Dion Myers. All these are below the age of 22.
Yeah. I think now the issue is that the old guard, they're trying to phase out the old guard, especially across formats. Now you only see maybe Craig Evans and the ODI, Sean Williams and the ODI, and they're no longer in the T20s. So it's been some kind of a conundrum, and the guys that have come in the last few years, they've failed to make their mark. So there's particularly no mainstay in terms of who the opening partnership or who the middle order is. So we are always trying this, trying that, bringing in this one, bringing in that one. And also, like, we also have an issue with the fans, because the fans are quick to say, okay, this one is performing, they've just hit runs in 2 or 3 games, they should jump in because their fans are desperate for a victory. So it also goes back to the issue of systems, like what I've been talking about in terms of soccer. We are nowhere good in terms of our grassroots structures. I think ZC maybe needs to be a little bit open, if they are, to make us understand at some point in time, to say, okay, what are the struggles that they are actually having? Is it an issue of funding? Is it an issue of monitoring? Is it an issue of bringing in the right personnel? Because you also hear the fans complaining about the same personnel being recycled all over in the food chain, in the ecosystem. So you cannot expect a different result while still doing the same things over and over again.
So we're flogging dead horses, basically.
That is what we are doing. I can't mention names, but you know the names that are always spoken of when it comes to cricket and when it comes to new initiatives. So even when ZC says, we've got a new program, we want to do this, you hear that the head of that program is someone that who has failed us over the last 10, 15 years now. There were complaints about us not playing as many matches, but I think this year ZC has done quite well in terms of us getting matches, and even right down to the age groups. You know, there were a couple of tournaments that we went out to. But again, is our selection on the day on point? That's the other thing.
All right. Well, okay. Let me also chime in and jump in this one. And obviously, you can also give us your comments in that regard. In terms of the selection, I think the biggest challenge as well that I feel we do have is that your selection process will always be thwarted if you haven't put structures that bring the cream to the top. So for example, we've got our NPL, right? That is supposedly a club system, right?
Yes.
And then from your NPL, you're supposed to then be moving to your, let's just say if it's for a format, your Pro T20, right?
Yes.
Which is amongst your franchise teams. And then from there, we're supposed to then supposedly move into the national team. That for me, I feel has got a few challenges in the sense that if a 20-year-old or a 19-year-old comes in there, hits a couple of 50s, again, this is where fans will come in and say that one should be included because we aren't really creaming things up. And much like what Reginald Mutare was saying, was that we don't have a cricket academy in the nation. Ever since the the CFX Academy burnt down out in Newlands, where we saw the development of the likes of the Hamilton Masakatas, the Elton Chigumbras, and so on and so on, who went on and had decent international careers and actually pretty long international careers. Right now, we don't have it. So we even heard of the example, Tim Southey. Tim Southey played with the likes of Tinote Namtombodzi. Tinote Namtombodzi, you barely hear him in the cricket circles anymore.
He is fizzled out.
He's fizzled out. But Tim Southey is there,
Yeah.
you know, and well, let's just say maybe he's got maybe 1 or 2 more years left in the tank, but he's still there. He's had a long career. The likes of Tino Mawoyo played with Alistair Cook, but he retired way before Alistair Cook retired. Yeah. So we've got these dynamics. Josh Hazelwood, if I'm correct as well, played with some of the players who have now long since left cricket here in Zimbabwe. When we talk about the Under-19 Cricket World Cup and so on and so forth. Now let's come to more recent times. Jacob Bethel, who is now playing in the England setup right now, was part of the Under-19 World Cup that I believe was more recent, which the likes of the Kwena Mapakas played, the likes of the Newman Nyamuris, who's obviously been given a chance now, but some of the older players as well that were within that particular side have now all, come from. But he's now been able to punch his weight right at the top. Our kids are failing to punch their weight right at the top.
Yeah, I guess that's the challenge, and also going back to the issue of structures and setups, because like when you look at England, they've got a very robust England Lions team, and it's constantly going on tours. It's going on tours to Asia, because at one point they were saying they were struggling with spin, they were struggling with those conditions and stuff like that. So their programs are tailor made to the deficiencies that they are facing in that particular moment. For us, for a very long time, we've known that we are struggling with fast bowling. What have we done intentionally to address that? Nothing. We just take somebody who's got a little bit of potential. They play 2-3 games. It goes, wahala, we've got something, and they come into to the national setup without them being thoroughly, cooked. So that's the issue that we are just plugging in so as to fulfill fixtures or to have a decent, number of players and in the team, or for us to be seen to be doing something. But that's really not the way to go all about things. So you see, in terms of our development systems, they are evidently lacking. And then you see the likes of England is going to be a mainstay. They battle for a very, very, very long time, and he started his career so well. Unlike here, when we are just putting in these kids and then we damage them because we are using them before they arrive.
Oh yes, most definitely, and hopefully that can be fixed. The next series coming up, it is Afghanistan, and it's going to be at Harare Sports Club, a ground maybe that they are used to. Running the is a Queen's Sports Club, and now it seems like our boys can't hit a 6 to save their lives. But well done to Tinote Maposa. He saved our life in the last T20. So we're playing Afghanistan. Mujib Rahman is back, and that means we have to deal with spin bowling and all sorts. But anyway, that brings us to the end of this segment, and we are getting into the final one, where we're going to be talking about European football. Chelsea on the rise. Is it or is it not? All right, so welcome back. And yeah, international football is an absolute eyesore, a thorn in the flesh, and the side for us as Man United fans. We are suffering. We are honestly suffering. But anyway, Ruben Amorim said we are going to suffer. That's what he said. We have got a lot of work to do. But today is not about Manchester United. We've got a Manchester derby that's coming up over the weekend, and we'll talk a bit about that. But let's talk about Chelsea. A big, fantastic London derby win for them against Tottenham Hotspur, which just can't seem to hold on to a lead. But I think more importantly, I think it's now time to take Chelsea seriously. Enzo Maresca, Argushanda, guys.
Yeah, I really believe it's high time we started taking Chelsea seriously. I know they are trying to be humble. Maybe it's lessons from the past or lessons from the other clubs in the last 2 seasons or so. But I believe Chelsea has been playing fantastic football, and it's now starting to be a true reflection of a team that has spent close to 1.2 billion, pounds since the new ownership in terms of bringing in, players and we used to laugh about Chelsea having so many bosses just to go to training and stuff like that. But I'd like to believe that they've brought in the right men. He's got the tenacity. He's putting in the hard work. You can clearly see the tactics, and he's not afraid to make decisions, and he's not afraid to stand by them. That's Enzo, of course. And they're starting to bear fruit. The results are coming in. They are now consistent. So definitely Chelsea are becoming a force once again.
Oh yeah, and others were thinking, no, Chelsea needs a striker, whatever. But look at what Nicholas Jackson has done ever since the beginning of the season. He has just been top notch. I think the only man that's ahead of him right now is Erling Haaland.
Sometimes that's the problem with us fans, is that we easily are disappointed, and we want to throw someone under the bus, and we want to give excuses and all that, and we want to move on to the next big player. But come on, window is only open twice a year, before the start of the season, and once in the middle of the season. So it's not like you can always ship in players in and out at every given moment. Sometimes you really have to work with what you have. The same thing that I also see happening with Højlund. Lack of supply at Man United, needs a little bit of funnel beating, but he's got the qualities to be an amazing striker. And right now, only until Ruben Amorim has come in, he's starting to pushing a couple of goals consistently. So that's the same thing that happened with Jackson. Sometimes it's a matter of confidence, sometimes it's a matter of the system. So these things sometimes they do take time. It's not something that we can change overnight.
Yeah, magic overnight is what tends to be the problem. But let's look at the construct of their team. Enzo Fernandez as well, now fully justifying his price. Look at some of the goals that he's scoring now. He's absolutely become a beast in the middle of the park. Moises Caicedo quickly turning into a N'Golo Kante of sorts as well, really controlling the park, disturbing play and things like that. So really shaping up for Chelsea.
It is, and also coming to Enzo as well, and word on the street that once he's separated from the one, that's when he's come back to his senses, and everything is all good. Yeah. But I believe Enzo Maresca is really working hard at Chelsea and working with the system, tracking with the system, trying to see who can be the mainstays of his team. And obviously, like what I've always said, the football has to be a team effort. It's not supposed to be an individual effort. Individual brilliance, yes, it's a positive, but it's all about creating a structure, creating an identity for the whole team, such that if today Enzo is not there, Caicedo will be there, Lavia will be there, and they all fit into the system, and they are always able to grind the result.
Oh yes, most definitely. Well, let's quickly talk about our last thing. That's obviously the Manchester derby coming up over the weekend, and both Manchesters in a bit of a pretty pickle at the moment. And I'm sure Pep Guardiola would be calling Amorim and say, but look, I think at the end of the day, Manchester City would be in a better position than Manchester United in order to maybe come out with a victory. or not?
Yeah, definitely, I believe so. Man City, Guardiola and his squad have been together for for a longer period of time, and Amorim has only just come into United, and I guess it's his fifth or sixth game in charge. So definitely City, and also in terms of the structure at City, the way that they have been playing football over the years, you can't really write them off just basically because of this a sketchy or patchy period that they've been going through. At times it happens in football. It all happens to the best of us, where you've got that rough patch and everything is not clicking. But in terms of playing against United, I think United have got a lot of handicaps. They've got a lot of issues that they have got to fix, starting from their attitude, starting from their techniques, defending set pieces, decision making in the final third and all that. So when you look at both sides, definitely you understand that City has got the upper hand going into this derby.
Going into that particular derby, you also wonder what kind of a lineup that Manchester United could actually try and push out. I think if there's a person that has been overworked and strained, Amad Diallo seems to be the only one who seems to be bringing a bright spark to Manchester United's push forward. Obviously, you've got Højlund, as you've spoken about, the goals that he's been able to score. Rashford, Ruitange, Motorima, Pepa scored 2-3 goals there. Zima in the next game in the middle of the park. It looks like Ugarte is now getting the gist of things. He seems to be settling his foot quite nicely, but I think there is a discussion that people are not yet ready for. Bruno Fernandes.
Those are the effects of being the top performer over a prolonged period where Bruno Fernandes was firing from all cylinders. And I think the issue of the minutes and also the issue that everyone is looking up to him to do something is, finally catching up, with him. And he needs somebody who complements him. I've always said United should have been serious in the past 2 or 3 windows in terms of finding a like-for-like replacement in terms of Bruno's achievements at United. You can actually feel it when Bruno is not in the system. So it goes back to the issue that I was saying. It hasn't to be about personalities, but it has to be about the system. If you put in Eriksen there, you must equally deliver. If you put in Mount at Bruno's position, but it seems like nothing of that sort.
Definitely nothing of that sort. Well, you can send your predictions on our social media platforms. Let us know what your thoughts are concerning the Manchester derby. But for Chelsea, Toti Mabinya, the Siana Inao, Aruku Famba, Siana Inao Mabinya.
Adzoka Mabinya.
But anyway, that brings us to the end of the show today. But once again, don't forget, subscribe, like, comment, share. We want to get to hear your thoughts, and of course, get in touch with us. Let us know what your thoughts are, who you would want to see on the show, who we should be talking about. I think we're going to be doing something that is along the FIFA president's election line, and I think we'll be trying to get 1 or 2 of the presidential candidates to come on board and let us know what their thoughts are and how they intend to turn around football in Zimbabwe. Well, that brings us to the end of the show. My name is Rumbo Chakoreka. Aramis with me here, but until next time, it's cheerio.